Hi, my name is Ale Torres, and today I will be presenting my custom video game that I've made for my Intro to Unity programming class. Below, in our project folders, I have three scenes, our start screen, which is up right now, our level 1, and our end screen. So if we go on over to level 1, in our hierarchy, we have our main camera, which holds the camera script. And within our grid, if we go in closer, we have our background, our terrain, and our over background. This sorting of layers is basically so that our player doesn't interfere with the background, and the terrain is a default state where we can play around and collide with objects, and our over background is for the moving aspects of the game where the game does not interfere with any of the pickups and our players can still interact with it. Over on our player, we have a rigid body 2D, a box collider, and a couple of scripts and animations that we'll see further on. We have all our strawberry pickups that we find throughout the level. We have our score screen here within the canvas. Within our traps, we have spikes and saws, a couple different saws and spikes that are spread out. And I have moving platforms throughout the entire level that with each platform have their own waypoints and our flag, which is designated to transport us to the end screen, which we'll see here in a second. And once the player touches that flag, we get this screen right here. The quit button does not work until we compile and export the game, which will quit the overall application. Okay, let's go back to level 1 and let's look at our scripts. Within our scripts folder, we'll find our main scripts, which will be the player movement, our player camera, player life, which basically allows the player to, on impact with anything called spike or has a tag of spike, will initiate the die animation and it will stop here in rigid body static. It'll stop the player from moving, animate the death screen, and then restart the entire level once more. Our platform stick, this is just purely for aesthetic reasons. This is so that the platforms that are moving do not move our player along. Our rotator, this is for our saws. It's just rotating the saws 360 degrees. And here it's saving us frame rates. It's independent frame rate than from within Unity. Our finish code here, it's basically telling us that once the flag it collides with the player, uh, it has a delay. It invokes a delay on this command here, and it loads in the next scene, which would be our end scene. This is for our start button. This is just telling the game to load in the next scene, and our quit button, which quits the application, which does not work until again the game is compiled and exported. Okay, within our player movements, we have a couple of classes that we have indicated here. We have our variables. We have here in this code section. So if our player is moving horizontally, it is going to apply speed that we can later change within Unity. And if we're holding down the space button, it's going to apply force upward, which is our jump animation. And then here we have all our animation states. So we have set up here, where is it? A private enum, which basically gives each animation a number, which we can now state down here. So if the character is greater than 0f, which is our float variable, it's going to trigger the running animation. And here we have a sprite flip. So if it's running to the left, which is less than 0 float, it's going to flip to the left side. We have our idle animation. We have our jumping animation, which here it's just telling the rigid body if it's going up higher than 0.1f, it's going to trigger the jumping animation. And within this set here, we're telling the player that, okay, if you collide with anything with the tag strawberry, you're going to increase the score, and the text score is going to increase by 1, as well as saying here, I restated it, it's not necessary, but I restated it, if you hit spike, anything with the tag spike, you're going to play the death animation and restart. within our camera positioning. Here, instead of using the other method where you're taking the subtracting the length between the camera and the player, here we're just telling the camera to follow the player in all axes, in the X, Y, and Z axis. All right, so that's the main part of the script here, and now we're going to run the game and see how it goes. So we're going to start here in our start screen. It's called FruitWorld. Click the start button and we see immediately our animations are going, and we have an idle animation. We have a jumping animation. My running animation only works after you've run, which is a bug, but let's just go through it here. Oh, and we see the score increase by 1 once we pick up any of those strawberries. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to Alright, there was our death animation, and it restarted our counter and it restarted the level. So let's just keep going with the level. Here we have my moving platforms, which contain waypoints, which allows the platform to move from that waypoint to the next waypoint. Character doesn't stick to the platforms, and here we have our rotating saws. And then if we touch it, we die, and there goes our score back to 0. Let's just pick them up here. Um, Hopefully I don't die. And just a bit more. Oh, you can also double jump as well. Let's just keep going through the level. Alright, and then once we collide with this flag here, it's going to take us to finally our end screen, and then you press quit application. That was it. Um, and that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.